Hello, I'm John Roberts, and welcome to the CBS Evening News Online Edition. Just ahead, Rita strengthens into a monster Category 5 hurricane, the most dangerous of all. John Blackstone's got the latest for us on that. Also, David Martin reports on a controversial training program that prepares new medics for real-life battle conditions in Iraq. And a World War II hero gets the funeral she deserves from friends she never knew after Hurricane Katrina. It's all starting now on the CBS Evening News Online Edition. Well, here we go again. Hurricane Rita is now at the top of the hurricane scale, a Category 5. And about 1 million Gulf Coast residents are being evacuated tonight. Rita is tracking across the Gulf of Mexico with top sustained winds above 160 miles an hour. Coastal areas from Texas to Louisiana could be affected, including New Orleans, where after Katrina, even a glancing blow could be devastating. Rita is projected to make landfall around Galveston, Texas by early Saturday. CBS News correspondents are deployed across the potential hurricane zone to bring you full coverage of Hurricane Rita. We begin tonight with John Blackstone in Galveston.
The sick are being loaded onto helicopters. Those without cars are climbing into buses. With Rita now atop of the scale, Category 5 hurricane, Galveston is quickly becoming a ghost town.
We've seen these pictures now of what happened on the Mississippi coast. That's what the west end of Galveston Island is going to look like.
The huge University of Texas Medical Center called in the medevac helicopters and a fleet of ambulances. The medical center has never before evacuated, but that was before Katrina.
We have generators, we have a great plan, we have lots of fuel, but still it was sobering to see patients moving out of those hospitals in New Orleans, and they thought they were ready too.
And Katrina was much on the mind of the 250 residents of the Edgewater Retirement Center as they loaded onto buses, many running from a hurricane for the first time ever.
You've been through these before?
Yes, and never left.
You never left before?
Glad to leave this time.
Why?
We're looking at New Orleans and all the coastline.
You've got people who've lived in Galveston for decades and decades, and they've ridden out hurricane after hurricane.
That's right, but I didn't give them a choice. I said, it's mandatory and we're going, and I'll be right behind you.
But it's not just looking back at Katrina that has Galveston worried. In 1900, the city was virtually wiped out by what is now known as the Great Galveston Hurricane. 6,000 to 12,000 people died. Only a few houses were left standing.
It survived the 1900 storm. I'm hoping it survives this one. I just closed on the house 3 weeks ago. I just bought it.
You just bought it?
Right. So we're boarding it up and we're leaving.
After the 1900 hurricane, the city was rebuilt behind a concrete seawall. Still, Galveston remains vulnerable, sitting on a barrier island just a few feet above sea level. Computer projections show that a 22-foot storm surge would put the whole island underwater. For now, Rita's storm surge is below that, but could still claim plenty of low ground. That's why the city-provided buses were busy today.
I'm on a fixed income, so without City Galveston help, I wouldn't know what to do, and I appreciate them.
Evacuation organizers learned a big lesson from Katrina. If you want people to go, let them take their pets.
They showed me what real love is, and they're part of me.
On average, Galveston is at least brushed by a hurricane every 3 to 4 years. That may explain why people here have often chosen to ride out the storm. Not this time.
John, the officials down there certainly seem to be acting with an abundance of caution. How effective do you think this mandatory evacuation is going to be?
Well, certainly the streets are emptying out here. Officials hope everyone will leave. They know that's not realistic, that some will stay behind, including about 50 patients at the hospital who they decided are just too sick to move. They'll stay.
All right. John Blackstone leading off our coverage tonight. John, thanks. In the past 2.5 years, most of the Army's active duty combat soldiers have been deployed to Iraq at least once. But with every deployment cycle, some head into the battle zone for the very first time. So the military is taking some unusual steps to prepare them for the realities of war. David Martin reports.
The streets of Nashville are a long way from Baghdad, but that's an Army medic in the back of that ambulance getting ready for Iraq. Andrew Hershey has never seen combat.
Taking any medicine, sir?
So he's spending some of his last nights before shipping out getting as close to the real thing as possible. Other soldiers in his unit are getting even closer.
We have 8 bodies here at our office.
The city morgue is a mandatory stop for all officers and senior enlisted men in the 3rd Brigade of the 101st Airborne Division.
What they're doing behind this door is observing an autopsy. It's part of what's called stress inoculation, getting troops ready to deal with the grim reality they'll have to face in Iraq.
Now, you weren't just observing, you actually had to physically touch the body parts.
Yes, sir. It was uncomfortable to do so, but you had to overcome that.
I think seeing someone who's actually dead helps in that it just prepares us mentally, psychologically, for what we might have to face.
What they will face in Iraq is a fight at close quarters, which, for the soldier in the middle of it, comes down to one thing.
The dirty, nasty, four-letter word that you'll never see in a military manual. What is it? Kill.
Retired Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman, author of a book called On Killing, lectures the troops not on how to kill, they already know that, but how to deal with it mentally.
If you're truly prepared to kill, you're less likely to panic.
Medic!
Grossman can't give them bulletproof bodies, so he's trying to equip each soldier with what he calls a bulletproof brain to withstand the shock of combat. So everybody, not just medics, has to insert an IV in a fellow soldier.
The whole premise of this is we are going to take casualties.
Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is we're fighting a war, and there's people in Iraq that are dying on a pretty regular basis over there.
Some officers in the division think this kind of training goes too far in its emphasis on death and dying. What matters is whether it works. The 101st leaves for Iraq this week. David Martin, CBS News, Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
The death toll from Hurricane Katrina passed 1,000 today. In the disaster zone, it has been funeral after funeral. So we end tonight with Jim Acosta's story of a woman who died at the age of 81 and now rests in peace through the kindness of strangers.
Like nearly every burial at Biloxi's National Cemetery since the hurricane, there was no family present at this service for Marjorie Brecht.
And I saw it on the paper. I said, well, she won't have many family there. I better go.
Ashes to ashes.
It was up to just the cemetery's staff to honor this World War II veteran. Marjorie's body, explains the cemetery director, was in no condition to be transported, so she could not be buried next to her husband in Kentucky. And there was no time for her out-of-state family to attend, an all too common fact of life and death on the Mississippi coast.
Something that every morning when I come to work, I'm saying, okay, am I going to make it through today, without breaking down?
Brecht is a fallen hero from a different era, a pioneering member of the Women's Army Corps in World War II. Her husband, a former POW who survived the Bataan Death March. But Marjorie wasn't entirely alone after her death. Some ordinary strangers assumed the extraordinary task of trying to find her relatives, who for 2 weeks had no idea she had died.
You couldn't even see where the house was.
Della McCann's relatives took Marjorie Brecht into their home when she sought refuge from the storm. None of them made it. Out of the rubble, Della recovered Marjorie's wallet.
FEMA didn't seem to know, quite what to do.
So she and a priest did their own detective work, finding Marjorie's son in Alabama and collecting her mementos.
I know whatever they are will be cherished by those grandchildren.
So while it appeared Marjorie Brecht was alone at her burial, she had friends she never knew by her side. Jim Acosta, CBS News, Biloxi.
More stories are just a click away, but don't forget to join us on television for the on-air edition of the CBS Evening News. On Thursday's broadcast, In the Path of Hurricane Rita, how will another hit affect an already crippled oil and gas industry? We'll take a look at that as we continue to track the massive storm. For CBSNews.com, I'm John Roberts.